Welcome to episode 2 of Building with Scaffold-ETH and x402 for the x402 hackathon. In this episode, I'll try to keep it short, where we're simply focusing on the Nextjs package of the Scaffold-ETH project. In this, we are upgrading from Nextjs 15 to Nextjs 16, simply with the motivation to mitigate our dependencies becoming outdated and to make sure that we're using the latest stable versions and ensuring that we are compatible with X402 V2. There'll be a few dependencies, extensions that we will later rely on that will become useful, and making sure we are up to date with the newer dependencies will help us along the way. So getting this out the way is kind of essential. So to get started, we'll need to move or update our packages in the package JSON. So we'll go from x402. So this will be removed because we'll be replacing this with the newer packages. So we can get rid of that actually now. And then next needs to be updated from version 15. We'll use version 16.0.10. And then so I've got it, still got it running. So make sure you end that and make sure that we're in the Next.js package. So change directory into packages/Next.js. And then we want to add the new x402 packages. So x402 core, x402 forward slash EVM. Wait, it'll be x402 forward slash paywall even. I'm missing two more. Yeah, EVM. So we need the EVM package and we need the next package, which gives us the proxy, the payment proxy. So we'll add those two. Yarn add x402 forward slash next and x402 forward slash EVM. Okay, for the sake of the demo, I just want to demonstrate that we won't be able to start this app now because we need to migrate some things. Aside from the fact that we actually remove that module, the x402 Next module, the other reasons this will not run is the fact that we're currently using a custom Webpack config where TurboPack is enabled by default, and we don't really need Webpack anyway. This Scaffold-ETH repo runs fine with TurboPack. So we'll change the next config and we'll remove these from Webpack. Cool. So, okay, so we've got rid of the Webpack and we will also. Okay, so it also says what I was saying earlier. The naming convention's changed, or the file convention. We need to use proxy instead. You can also go to the docs to read more about that if you wish. But yeah, it's just simply the fact that we've renamed in Next.js middleware to proxy. So what we'll do is we'll literally rename the current middleware file instead of creating a new file and deleting the middleware one. Our lint is not presenting an error because we don't have this module available. So just bear with me if the linting does not play ball with me. We need the facilitator client. I actually got rid of cursor tab for this video because it makes too many wrong assumptions all the time. So we need to get x402 core server. So we're getting the HTTP facilitator client that allows us to interact with the facilitator and make the request to the facilitator. The resource server is what is used on our side to essentially create the endpoints that can be interacted with by the end user. So either an agent or the human, and then it would go through the facilitator client to make the request to the facilitator. Okay, we need to register the exact EVM scheme. I'm not going to pretend that I know all of this off by heart. Um, exact. But this is good revision for me. The payment proxy is needed to be added to payment proxy. It would be nice if these imports would autofill, but I guess it doesn't want to give me that today. So that comes from Next. And then we need to import the paywall, create paywall. This comes from x402 paywall. And then lastly, EVM paywall, but we want to get it. I don't know why it's like this, but I think it gives it applies the config as we need to when getting it from /EVM. Otherwise, it doesn't seem to work with me. I don't know if that's some sort of dependency issue or it's something I'm doing wrong. I'll fix these lint errors. Okay. If the facilitator URL or the pay to is not provided, is undefined, we want to make sure this proxy isn't running actually and just throw an error. So just say provide the facilitator URL and address. Okay, and yeah, so if we don't have it, we just want to make sure that that process ends. Okay, that looks good. Technically, we should do it for networkers. Actually, it doesn't matter. Okay, we need to define the facilitator client. So facilitator client. It's client, cool. So a new HTTP facilitator client, and in an object, the URL, and then facilitator URL, like this. Okay, so that's instantiated. We don't need to export that. We need the server now. Define our server, which essentially is the server the end user interacts with. And just so you can see, creates an instance of a server and the facilitator where the payments will be processed. Okay, we need to call this to register the functions. So the exact payment scheme. So this is the x402 v2 exact payment schemes that we will be using. So we're using x402 version 2. As you remember, we were technically using x402 v1 with our backwards compatible x402 v2 facilitators, if that makes sense. So this will be using the v2 schemes essentially, which we will need if we want to use the dynamic pricing that's made available with V2. So this is another reason why we need to do this migration. Okay, so now we need to do I keep exporting, pardon me. I'm pretty sure I do not need to export that. So creating a paywall and then, okay, we want to define network type. And then the config we want to use just allows us to define some like metadata, I guess. So the app name, let's call it Scaffold Substack. Let's say it's just going to be a future blog app, I guess. App logo. We don't have an app logo somewhere. I don't know if we have a logo I can use. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Okay. Maybe that'll work. If that's where the public directory is pointing to. But again, that's not really important anyway. We're on testnet, so we can actually add this. And then last one is to actually just call to build the paywall provider. And then we have a paywall provider now built for us to use. So now we'll export. It was middleware. Now it's proxy. It's not payment middleware. It's now payment proxy. Hence the reasons why we need to use these new dependencies. And then we need to define. So it changed a little bit. It'll look like this. Okay. So you have the root of the API endpoint and then accepts. Because we have these dynamic options now, um, we have to change things around a little bit. Scheme exact. Oh, that's not what we want. Exact, like this. So, um, okay, yep. So we need to make sure we have to define the networks like this, right? So EIP, make sure everything's a string. This is a little bit complicated. Uh, so 8.4, we're using base Apolia still. And then you define who we're paying to here instead now. Um, we already have pay to defined up above here. So this is how they look now. So when you're building your payment proxy, you define your route, and then you accept any of these options. So you can accept these sort of payment options, right? Okay, so let's just fix the rest here. Okay, same again, accepts, and then like this. Sorry, this is a bit messy. Um, okay, okay, okay. So I've made a couple mistakes. There we go. Cleaned it up. So yeah, now we have two routes as before. So we've got a API route, and then we've also got our page protected route that we can use. Um, so okay, we just need to finish off this here. So same as before, we use the exact scheme, the network, the IP 155. And then 8.532 for base polio. And then, as it says in the lint, pay2 is missing. Comma here, replace. Great. So then we need to just get rid of this because this is a bit messy. We've already defined all of these above in the config, if you remember in the paywall config. So we don't need to define those again. But what's left is to define the server itself. Um, because we've already defined the paywall config in the paywall builder above, up here, we can just now actually define, we can leave that undefined and add paywall. Just leave that undefined and then paywall, where we've actually defined the config anyway, is the fourth argument. Okay, that should be, I believe that should be everything. That should be the whole migration pretty much. We don't need the network because we defined the networks here. But technically, if you wished, you can set them in the environment variables. Let's see if everything just works. Like, if this works first time, then amazing. I mean, that was a very messy attempt of just kind of one-shotting this. But yeah, we got a paywall that looks very similar to the one before. So just so it looks like it's working great. Um, I mean, this video did take a little bit longer than I expected it to be. I was making some little mistakes in between, but we figured it out. So yeah, we got this new, I guess, similar paywall. It looks very similar. It maybe it's actually the exact same style. Um, and let's just see it. This will work. So transfer with auth, paying to that address is like before. Um, so yeah, the pay to address should be 2266. Perfect. The payment went through. Diff action hash in. There we go. Oh, that was the one 7 hours ago. Hold on a second. Did we use? Oh, okay. So we use the x402. Ah, right. Well, let's use our facilitator. What the heck? Um, so localhost 4022. I believe that's it. Yeah. Let's test this out, make sure everything works with our facilitator. Um, cool. Let's go again. Yeah, let's have a look. Let's just check it on base scan again. 11 seconds ago. Amazing. Yeah, that's brilliant. So our facilitator BD98 paid, made the transaction, interacted with the USDC contract, and then essentially transferred the authorized amount from the payer to the payee, which is exactly what we're looking for. We now have a Next.js 16 app ready to go with all the new dependencies, which is great. Now we can start developing on all the new features, the extensions. We can start using the bazaar, which I've been reading into, and how to use that. So we'll go through the discovery layer maybe in the next video, or maybe I'll start doing some more exciting stuff. Um, I'll link anything necessary or relevant in the bio or the description of the video. Again, thank you for watching. If you've got any questions, just hit me up in the comments or on my Telegram or in the X402 Telegram itself. I've been engaging in there quite a lot. It would be cool to see some guys that have been watching join. Okay, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.